You've probably heard this term thrown around, right? Design thinking. It's everywhere. It's been hailed as this miracle cure for businesses that are stuck in a rut, the secret key to unlocking game-changing innovation. But what is it really?
In this explainer, we're going to break it all down. Is it the real deal, or just the latest piece of corporate jargon? We'll look at the hype, the actual nuts and bolts of the process, see where it's had a huge impact, and, well, why it's sometimes just completely falls flat. Okay, let's dive in.
All right, so first let's talk about the promise, the hype. How is this thing usually sold to us? It's often pitched as this incredible, almost magical framework for solving pretty much any problem you can throw at it. And the promise is really alluring, isn't it? The idea that there's a structured process that can take the messy, chaotic reality of creation and reliably turn it into these elegant solutions that people absolutely love. It's sold as this method that lets any team, not just the creatives, systematically come up with innovative stuff. But not everyone's buying it. You've got critics who are pretty quick to argue that, it's just old ideas like basic user research, repackaged with a cooler name and a much bigger price tag. And that skepticism really sets up the central question here. Is this a revolutionary method, or is it just really good marketing? So, to get past all that hype, we need to look under the hood. We've got to understand the engine room of design thinking. So let's break down the foundational 5-step process that's most famously taught at Stanford's D-School. Okay, so here they are: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Now, looking at this, it seems super straightforward, right? Like a simple linear checklist. But here's the secret. It's not linear at all. The process is meant to be a loop. You're constantly jumping back and forth between these stages as you learn new things. And it all kicks off with empathy. Honestly, this is the absolute heart of the entire approach. It's not about running a survey or just asking people, what do you want? No, it's about deeply understanding their world. It means watching them, talking to them, and really listening to uncover the needs they might not even be able to articulate themselves. So after you've spent all that time immersing yourself in the user's world, you move to the define stage. This is all about making sense of the chaos. You take all those observations, all those stories, and you boil them down into a single, clear, and actionable problem statement. And this quote, this just nails it. It's why that define stage is so incredibly important. Think about it. If you frame the wrong problem, even the most brilliant, creative solution in the world is guaranteed to fail. This stage is about making sure you're solving the right problem. Okay, you've got your problem locked in. Now comes the part everyone thinks of, the sticky notes and the whiteboards. This is the ideate phase. The whole goal here is quantity over quality. You want to go as wide as possible, get past the obvious answers, and just generate a massive range of potential solutions. No bad ideas at this stage. From that huge pool of ideas, you start prototyping. You don't just pick one and spend 6 months building the perfect version. Instead, you build to think. This means making super cheap, low-fidelity versions of your idea. It could be a sketch on a piece of paper, a model made of cardboard, whatever. The goal is to fail fast and cheap, learning something valuable with every attempt. And finally, you test. You get those rough prototypes in front of real users, and you're not there to sell them on your idea, you're there to see how they actually react, to learn from them. And more often than not, the feedback you get here sends you right back to an earlier stage. Maybe you need to redefine the problem entirely. That constant loop, that's the real core of the process. So that's the theory. But does this whole 5-step dance actually lead to breakthroughs in the real world? Let's take a look at a few classic examples. Take IDEO's redesign of a toothbrush for kids. The old way of thinking was, well, kids have small hands, so they must need smaller versions of adult toothbrushes. Makes sense, right? But by actually watching kids try to brush their teeth, the team noticed something huge. Little kids don't have great motor skills. They grip things with their whole fist. So they didn't need a smaller handle, they needed a thick, fat, squishy one. That insight led to a massive bestseller. Here's another famous one. In its early days, Airbnb was on the brink of total collapse. They were just not growing. The problem? People were visiting the site, but they weren't booking rooms. The experience was failing at the most critical step. So the founders literally put themselves in their users' shoes. They realized that the grainy, low-quality photos on the listings just felt untrustworthy. So they did something that doesn't scale at all. They flew to New York, rented a nice camera, and started taking professional photos of listings themselves. The results were immediate. Bookings shot up. It turned out the problem wasn't their website's code. It was a fundamental human need for trust. But this isn't just for consumer products. Look at this quote from a B2B case study about HVAC systems. The design team had this big aha moment when they realized their user wasn't just one person, it was this whole complex network of architects, building managers, engineers, even freelancers in a co-working space. Design thinking helped them map that entire system and create a solution that worked for everyone, not just one person.
With success stories like these, it's pretty easy to see why the hype is real. But let's be honest, for every big win, there are plenty of times the process just falls apart. It is no silver bullet. So let's explore why it doesn't always work.
Well, the problem usually isn't with the method itself, but with how it's actually applied in the real world. There are a bunch of common pitfalls that can turn this powerful process into what some people call innovation theater.
So a few key things go wrong. First, it gets treated like a fun 2-day workshop with sticky notes, and then everyone just goes back to their desks and their old ways of doing things. For this to work, it has to be a real cultural shift. Another huge one, the company isn't actually ready to fail. If failure is punished, this whole process is dead on arrival. And finally, sometimes you go through all the steps but then just ignore what your users told you. The classic case is JCPenney getting rid of the coupons their customers loved, which, as you can imagine, was a complete disaster.
Okay, so we've seen the promise, we've seen the pitfalls, so how should we really think about design thinking's proper place in the world of innovation?
A really helpful way to frame it is to think of design thinking and another popular method, lean startup, as partners. They do different but really complementary jobs. As you can see, design thinking, with its deep focus on empathy, is perfect for helping you find the right problem to solve in the first place. Then lean startup, with its focus on rapid testing and MVPs, helps you build the solution right.
So, at the end of the day, design thinking is not a magic formula. Its value depends completely on the context it's used in and the commitment behind it. It's an incredibly powerful toolkit for digging into human needs, but that toolkit is only going to be effective in a culture that truly genuinely embraces experimentation, learning, and, yes, failure.
And that really brings us to the end. The real power of this process is in the mindset it creates. It all starts with one simple, optimistic question. How might we? So I'll just leave you with that. What's a problem in your own work or even your life that you could start to untangle just by framing it that way?